This just got towed into the shop today. It is a 2003 F-150 and we can see the problem right away. We have oily coolant everywhere. Everything got pushed out of this coolant bottle. But what happened was, most likely the oil cooler probably went bad. There is a gasket in there that keeps the oil and coolant separate, and if that goes bad, we can get stuff like this. Customer told me that it did not overheat, which is a great sign. That means we should be able to salvage this still. So the first thing I'm gonna do is pressure wash this stuff off so we can get in there. Let's just go ahead and check how much oil we actually still have left. It is on the stick. That's what matters, I guess. Look at all this oil in the fender well. Step one is complete. Now we're just gonna pull it in there, find where the oil cooler is, and then check that out. First thing we're gonna do is pull off this fender well, and I'm hoping that gives us access to the oil cooler, which is down there. But from the bottom, this is a four-wheel drive, so it does not look the easiest to get to. So we're gonna pull this off and see if that gives us access. This thing is filthy. Well, there's our oil filter right there. The bad news is it still does not look easy at all. The good news is, I don't think there is any good news. Next step, we're gonna drain the oil so then we can get that oil filter off and see how we can finagle that thing out. I probably should have gave this a better pressure wash job. I was just not aware that it looked like this. I mean, that's crazy. This is going to need a good clean job after this. Wow, nothing came out. It's clogged bad. It is starting to run just a little bit. It's gonna be all thick chocolate milk anyways, so I'm just gonna leave that off and let it drain into the bucket. I was able to get the oil filter off and now it doesn't look horrible. I mean, we still do got that radiator hose, which is going to be quite difficult, but other than that, it doesn't look horrible, I think. I mean, we're gonna see. Still does not look like the easiest thing in the world because we just simply have no room. But now we are going to try and get that off. I think for that bottom radiator hose, the easiest way is gonna be going through the top. So we're gonna pull this stuff off. Now that radiator hose doesn't look too bad, it's just right there. All right, so the game plan now is to pull off the radiator hose and then pull off the oil cooler. And then after that, we are going to inspect that and make sure that is our problem. I'm like 99% sure it is gonna be our issue, but we're gonna pull that off and then flush the cooling system, replace the oil cooler. Hopefully that's our problem. And then continue on. Full of chocolate milk. Let's just tuck this away for now and put our bucket under there. This thing is nasty. Now next step is going to be to pull the oil cooler out. Oh. All right, we finally got it out after a long time. But what happens is this gasket here goes bad and water or oil gets into the other. So this is both of our oil ports right here. So what happened was this gasket went bad and oil enters our coolant system just like that. Now it's time to clean everything out and replace it. But that is our oil cooler. All right, so the entire time I was calling this a oil cooler, but I was meaning to say oil filter housing. Yeah, so this is actually called oil filter housing, not an oil cooler. Just keep that in mind. But I do have it all cleaned out and it is ready to put back on. We're not going to replace this just because this is a $1,300 part at O'Reilly's, which is absolutely insane. Come back down here, we can see where it does bolt up right there. I'm gonna clean that surface off and make sure that that is good. And then after that, after we get this bolted back on, we're good to put everything else back together, and then we are going to flush the crap out of this coolant system. And with our new one, we can see how much O-ring we actually have on the gasket itself, and this one is just completely flat and gone. Big difference there, but that was definitely our problem, where our oil was getting into the coolant. All right, we have our oil filter housing back on and tight, so that's good. Now we can continue on up here. We can go ahead and put our coolant hose back on, and yeah. All right, we do got everything put back on. Now we have our radiator hose and we have the oil filter back on as well. The next step is going to be to tighten up the drain plug, put oil, and then we're going to flush the coolant system, and I'm going to show you guys how we're going to flush the coolant system. So I'm going to go ahead, put this top stuff back together, and then we are going to put oil and flush the cooling system. All right, we do got everything put back together up top, and we do got oil in. Now, our magical sauce is Simple Green. What we're going to be doing with this is dumping pretty much about half of this into the coolant jug, and then we're going to top the rest off with water if we still do have enough room. And what that's going to do is allow us to clean out our coolant system. So the reason why we're only putting half is so we can run one heat cycle with half, and then we're going to drain everything out of the radiator and then put the other half, run another heat cycle, and we can drain that, and then we'll see what the coolant is looking like, and we'll take a sample. Then we will take a sample and see if we still got oil in our system or not, and then we'll know if we have to put more or not. Most of the time, 1 gallon jug will do the trick. I've used this on lots of different things. 6.0 Power Strokes is the most common, but lots of things. This is 100% safe. Just make sure you run a heat cycle and drain it. I mean, you don't want to obviously run around with this stuff, but you get the picture. So I'm gonna go ahead and dump this into here, and then we're gonna run a heat cycle. All right, so I did run a heat cycle on it the first time, and we did get it warm. I'm not gonna just open up this cap just yet because then it'll, but I'm gonna let it cool down, and then we're gonna pop the cap, and then we're gonna drain the bottom, and we're gonna see exactly how much of that stuff really comes out of it. Okay, so I did get a little too confident in my abilities here, and I did not let it cool down enough, so obviously I gotta let it cool down a little bit more before I pop that cap off again. So I'm gonna be waiting. Now this is what we got out of the system after both of the flushes. Now it's time to run straight water in there, do a heat cycle, and then drain it one more time, and then we're gonna see what it looks like coming out. I'm pretty sure we got most of it out, but we're gonna see. All right, so we are running good. This is the 4th heat cycle I'm doing. Each heat cycle I was draining the coolant in between, and now it is mostly pretty clear coolant. There's not a lot of oil left in there. I'm gonna tell the customer that he's going to need to run Simple Green in it one more time, and then I would probably just drive it for a day with Simple Green in the system, and then drain it again after, and then refill it with coolant, just to make sure that the coolant system is fully clean, or mostly clean. I mean, it's going to be hard to get that sludge out of there 100%, but he's definitely going to need to be doing more heat cycles and more draining with Simple Green, because that stuff is thick and it gets trapped inside of the coolant passageways and everything else. So it's definitely not the easiest thing to get out of the engine. So you just have to keep on simple green, drain, refill, repeat, and eventually you'll get most of it out. Another thing I wanted to point out to you guys was whenever something like this does happen, your coolant hoses do become kind of spongy because oil is getting inside of the rubber hoses, and that kind of just destroys your rubber hoses. So it's kind of recommended that they're all replaced, to be honest. This is just kind of like a patch up for now, but I'm going to recommend to the customer that he should replace all the coolant hoses. And yeah, I mean, it's fine for now, but over time it's definitely recommended to replace your hoses because they are just spongy now. So that's not good. But other than that, we are good to go, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.